Buenos dias. I have reached the end of my Spanish. If you need translation, I encourage you to do that. I'm very impressed with Richard. I'm certainly aware of him in the United States, and it was great to be able to see him here in Bogota. I want to make sure that I keep us on track, and the first thing I'd like to do is to actually use some technology. So for anyone who's ever been to Orlando, Florida, who's been there? There's an event called SeaWorld where you get to see whales and dolphins. There's an area right here called the splash zone. So if you are close to the water, you get wet. This group that is within, say, 10 rows of me, if we could switch, I believe my presentation should be up right now. For those of you that have a QR reader on your phone and you would like to have some fun, we're not going to spend a whole lot of time, so no one run up or get close. What's happening? If there's someone up close that wants one, I'm also going to do what psychologists say is the single most anxiety-ridden thing in modern society, which is hand my phone to somebody else. I want you to play with this too. Did anyone else see it? I have a QR reader right here. Who wants to play in the front row? Should my wife call, you're in charge. Should my wife call, poke at that QR reader. Just point at it, yeah. Did it shake? Okay. So the camera should point at it, right? Oh, now you're in my bank account. There's nothing there, I assure you. So here's the QR reader. I'm just going to point it at that screen. Let me get a little closer for you. All right. Now there's a site coming up. You can be me. When that pops up, oh, I'm not on the internet. Note to everyone who's new to technology, it helps to be on the internet. El Cubo. That just described the digital divide that we face across the world. Now let's try this again. Here's my QR reader. I'm going to poke. Anyone else have it up? And now I want you to pick right down there the language that you'd prefer. How many languages do you see?
Spanish, German, and English. What do you want?
Keep scrolling.
German, I know.
Many more. Which one would you like?
German.
You're going to pick German?
Yes.
You can pick German. Okay, so for those of you that are following along, you're using different languages. And I consume 3 minutes. I'm going to present from here because as I speak, I expect that you will see a translation. We have chosen Spanish for this screen, but you chose whatever language you want on your screen. Works on Android, works on iPhone, works on whatever. This is Microsoft's PowerPoint translator. It's powered by the cloud, you needed internet, and it's taking my voice in real time, and it's translating it to the chosen language of whatever you'd want, wherever you are. First time I've used it in a big crowd, you get to be my beta test. Let me know how it works. Is there any children in the room? Under 18? Okay, warning, it's required. Every now and then the echoes in the room result in translated words that I don't control. And it turns out that the world uses naughty words on occasion, and those get recognized as frequently used words. So to be fair, sometimes a word that is not at all naughty gets translated as naughty on the screen. Should you want to laugh at that, that's exciting. I've also used the same tool to translate all of my slides. So now you can read my slides, but I can't. For those that were connected, you'll need to connect again. Working? All right. What will still work, or do you need to put that back up for those that wanted to catch it? For those that got the QR reader and couldn't get it in time, you have a second chance. Good? Well, let's start with some context. The title of my presentation is Swipe Right on Learning. For those of you that understand what swipe right means, good for you. For those of you that don't, ask your teenagers. But it is representative of a shift in which consumer expectations and consumer demands will shift higher education and the services that we offer. Let's look at a couple of shifts, and I'll just start right here. This is the Vatican, the election of Pope Benedict, St. Peter's Square. I'm sorry, this is Pope Benedict in 2005. How many have seen this picture before? It's fairly common. A few people? You know what happens here? Now, most people think the devices are the story. I think the devices are only the beginning of the story. For everyone had portable cameras, pocket-sized, wonderful pictures. The story is what they did next. What did they do next? They shared it. I heard a few people out there. They shared it. That fundamentally changed the way we consume news, who we trust, how we get our sources, and it did a lot of damage to the newspaper industry. Didn't change the news industry. In fact, the news industry is flourishing. And we saw a similar event with music, where a device is recognized as having disrupted the music industry. However, music artists are flourishing. What really changed the music industry was not the iPod, but rather iTunes. 99-cent music, on demand, in a store, when I want it, and my collection travels with me. That was disruptive, not the device. We had MP3 players. Heck, we all had Walkmans back in the 80s that carried. Portable music on a device had been around for years. You would put USB cards or load your MP3 player with music. But iTunes, which gave you a broad choice of music whenever you wanted it for the small price of 99 cents, was disruptive. And it put record stores out of business. Didn't put record labels out of business, and it empowered artists around the globe to be their own producers. It took a rather oligopoly of, it's a great word, took a controlled set of people who owned the record distribution industry, and it hurt them. Unless you were Richard Branson and you recognized that the record distribution business and Virgin Record stores quickly transformed to Virgin Record labels and other personal entertainment brands. He understood where disruption was coming, he understood the value of his brand, and he flourished when others, like Tower Records, went down. And so when we think about the world around us changing, recognizing the shifts enabled by technology, but the devices themselves are not causing the change. Very good point made this morning by Mr. David Luna. Devices will never replace people. Wonderful quote from the United States that I love is a great quote from a gentleman by the name of Mark Milliron. The greatest use of technology is that which makes the human moments more precious. It's a very important quote, because when we look at texting, when we look at Instagram, we look at Skype, we look at what we use technology for, it's to connect us more as humans. And when we make those moments more precious, and when we empower great educators, teachers or faculty, with better information about a student, they have greater teaching moments. And I'd like us to look at what we're looking at for trends, how the consumerization and the expectations of learners are changing the offerings of higher education, how we can learn, like Richard Branson, to define what business we're in, transform with the market, or go the way of the railroad, and yes, find inspiration from pizza for anyone that has ever attended college loves pizza. And I think we can learn a lot from pizza. This slide tells you that you are a member of one of the fastest growing mature industries on the planet. There are very few industries as mature as higher education with growth rates that look like this. All of you would be quite rational to say, I could do nothing, and I will have a wait list and demand for my offering for the next decade plus. And you would be 100% right. But it turns out that that is exactly the attitude in the innovator's dilemma that is popularized in that an alternative emerges when there's too much demand and not enough capacity. And those whose alternative is nothing end up finding anything that's better than nothing. And then that lower tier alternative continues to get better and better. So while you are sitting in the greatest growth industry of mature markets across the planet, that's going to double to 1.4 billion, having just doubled over the past 15 years, we could absorb 350 million students, notably in India, China, parts of Latin America, and adult learners in the United States. We had the capacity and facilities to do it. We will not absorb 750 million additional people with new buildings. They are finding new alternatives. Those alternatives are becoming increasingly credible, and they're serving a market that has traditionally been underserved by traditional institutions. The Gates Foundation did a study in the US, Australia, and the UK, basically developed markets, and found that the new majority of students, the most of them, are no longer 18 to 26-year-olds who want a residential immersive experience. They are seeking career advancement, they are seeking basic human opportunity, and they are seeking supplemental skills. What's most interesting, and if you think it through, it's not, one of the top consumers of supplemental education are the people who are already well educated. You want to sell meat? Sell it to meat eaters, right? Don't sell meat to vegetarians. Pretty easy to sell education to the educated. They are one of the top consumers of supplemental education. But understanding that our market is fundamentally moving, and understanding that it's not just the bottom of the market or non-traditional models, it's actually the top of the market as well. Who's heard of Minerva Education? The Minerva Project, it started out. They are now one of the top 5 most selective institutions in the world. They had a selectivity rating announced by the College Board this fall. Last June's class was more selective than Dartmouth and 5 other Ivy League colleges. The Minerva Project owns no buildings, mows no lawns, and has no big football team, but it is a most selective US institution. They have campuses in Hyderabad, they have campuses in San Francisco, London, global campuses that mix students from around the world in one of the most privileged, technology-enabled, and human-connected experiences. They physically move in their 4 years to each of the campuses. They spend time, and they're part of a cohort that is not geographically contained. While they move with a geographical cohort, they learn with a distributed cohort. Very interesting model that is delivering on the high end of the market with a different experience. And we're not seeing disruption just at the low end of the market. But clearly by demand, they are responding to market needs. And our traditional students, the ones we think that based on geographic proximity, country, our own reputation, these are the students we serve best. This phrase was coined by the USA Today about a month and a half ago that I first read it, may have been out earlier. A phygital, a mix of the physical and digital world in which today's millennial student draws no distinction, does not see a difference between who they interact with on their phone and who they interact with in person. In fact, most of their connected human experiences are with friends that are connected to them at the same time on their phone. And we all certainly aware of the selfie generation. And the fact that if you're not at an event sharing it, were you really there? It's the new model. If you didn't share it, were you really there? And that is this new phygital model. So with these expectations of new adult learners, changing experiences of traditional learners, we have flipped the question from a decade ago, which was, are students college ready, to now asking colleges, are you student ready? And the answer for most is, we're getting to be there. Yes, we want to be, but others see a massive gap between the market they serve and the offerings they preserve. And that preservation of history, tradition, brand is important. It's what defines your institution, and it's what many people seek. But please understand what it is they seek. They don't necessarily seek sitting in a classroom on your time, listening to instructor, like me, not engage you, not allow. And when we look at what we want to do related to learning, this is how they learn. They discover, they have experiences, and I call this the remote control phenomenon. You can never go back. How many people have a TV without a remote control today? How many had one when they grew up? I had 3 stations at my house in the 1970s, and I got up and turned it, and I sat back down. 3 stations, and I got up and down. Today, I have a remote control, and I will never go back. I have the control. There's a broad selection of offerings, and I can do this. This is how they have control today. Many of these services are their remote control, and some of us are offering knob channel televisions to them. So what we've got to think about is not just, oh, that's other industries. It's happening in our industry as well. The world's largest learning platform is actually YouTube. The fastest growing, quote, bank is not even a bank for originating financial aid loans, is SoFi. We are seeing new emerging services that meet the consumer where they are, and they're disintermediating traditional models that did not add significant value. What I want to be clear on, great release from the Harvard Business School around myopia, marketing myopia announced in the 1980s. And it specifically looked at the railroad industry. And I gave Branson as an example earlier. Branson recognized he was in the entertainment industry and that there was a massive opportunity with record distribution. But he continued to fulfill experiences, but got out of the distribution business. Railroads dominated the landscape at the turn of the century in the 1900s. They continued to flourish until they didn't, until new modes of transportation eclipsed them. What did they have? People liked personal automobiles. People liked individual control. People liked autonomy. Had the railroads defined themselves as in the transportation business, they would have continued to flourish. But they narrowly defined themselves as in the railroad business. Which brings us to what business we are in. Simple statement, but it's a massive shift. We are in the business of learning. And I think if you look at many of the practices around the globe, we still believe we're in the business of teaching. When we look at MOOCs and early scale of education, they scale teaching. It's the electronic whiteboard where the camera looks at you, can draw, and it looks like you're drawing on the glass, and that's what some of the best MOOCs are developed on. But we've scaled teaching. We have invested millions in our edX platform, for which we have no instructors that are recorded. We scale learning. We build competitions, we build projects, we build authentic assessments, we build self-guided reading times. And we are learning every day how people best learn in an online mode. And much like what you deliver, we build communities, we build competitions, we tie and we invest in character and credible outcomes. And people are motivated. Why? Because they know that data science degrees pay an awful lot. They know that data science is one of the most sought after jobs, and there's no alternative to get a job in 9 months except what we're offering and some of our colleagues through channels like edX and boot camps. And they're able to scale learning and connect to that. And that's driven by data. We learn how people learn, and we look on edX every day. Who clicked on what video? Where did they rewind? When did they drop out of the course? Which question did they get wrong? Which distractor was correct or not correct? We study every unit, every module up on edX every Monday. And we make minor tweaks, we continually improve it, and data informs all of our decisions. But data, as stated here, this first came out in 2006. Data is the new oil. Most people believe this is tied to oil because data is valuable. How valuable is data in its crude, how valuable is oil in its crude form? It's kind of worthless. Until you refine data, until you get a better distribution channel and get it in the hands of an application, data, much like oil, is crude and relatively useless, unless you can transform that data into a fantastic experience. Has anyone ever ordered pizza from the Domino's pizza tracker? It's my favorite thing to do in my house. Now you think, what does this have to do with learning other than college students love pizza? And I'm going to suggest that this has actually everything to do with the future of learning. Domino's invested in sensors in every outlet, in every branch, to say, where is a pizza, when does it go in the oven, what's on it, who made it, and they are using accountability and operational efficiency as a transparent customer engagement model. Think about that. Their operational data is exposed to customers. No one who buys Domino's pizza is buying it because it's the best pizza around. It's not high quality pizza, it's the best delivery experience around. And when we think about why Uber is so popular, it's the same reason that the pizza tracker is so popular. Eliminate anxiety. It's not the app, it's not the tool, it eliminates anxiety. When I order a pizza and I live on the 3rd floor, what do I do about 20 minutes in? Is the pizza guy here? Look out the window. Where's my pizza? This lets me know exactly where my pizza is. And if I don't like it, I actually can send a bar right back. You'll see the stars on the screen. And it tells me, Osman made my pizza, and his friend is delivering that pizza. They have data that simply letting you know the name of the driver has increased their tips. They're using accountability and transparency as a competitive advantage, and it eliminates anxiety for the customer. Now, who's familiar with the term degree audit? Degree audit, you know what that means? Very popular in the United States. You finish your 4-year degree, somewhere around the middle of your final term, you run a degree audit. And that degree audit tells you whether or not you're going to graduate on time. Imagine if Uber took you for a half-hour ride and at 25 minutes said, hey, are we any closer to where you want to go? Turns out you are on track or you're not on track. Uber eliminates anxiety. I know you take credit cards. I know you'll be here in 5 minutes. I know you won't take me for a ride because the map tells me so. We can eliminate anxiety through the learning process, and we can optimize what we're trying to do, just like, and I'll give you an example. Thank you, perfectly timed. Temple University has done. Quite literally inspired by the pizza tracker, they built a pizza tracker for MBAs. They said, what are the competencies that our employers seek? How do I know you're on track to build those competencies? And they mapped every single activity, just like Domino's censored every single pizza oven. They mapped every piece of the curriculum so that a student can look online at 7 competencies that they know the local employers value. They can watch how every activity, every assignment, every review from faculty, peer, mentor impacts their progress. And they know at the end of that experience what value Temple added. Temple, quite honestly, admits that they are not Wharton. They're only 1 mile down the street from the Wharton School of Finance and Economics, Wharton School of Business at University of Pennsylvania. 2 miles. At Temple is the Domino's equivalent to the very expensive Italian restaurant. And they realize that their customers want to know what new skills they have, what new capabilities they can project to employers, and how quickly they can get it done because the majority of them have families, current jobs, and want to advance in their profession. They have built a pizza tracker for MBAs, and it has allowed them to now communicate and move up the rankings that actual performance data is building prestige. Because when students answer the Business Week surveys today, The students now say, did you receive value and what benefit did Temple offer? And they're able to say, absolutely, because I was reminded every day that I built the following competencies. The other schools, give them a grade and a degree, and they know that the ratings to those questions, which drive the rankings, are thoroughly based on whether or not that person's in a good mood or likes their job today. And Temple has changed performance rankings by using data and built their own prestige by sharing that data. In that consumer world, I'm going to show you as I close up here, just a couple things. Arizona State is now bringing and announcing quite broadly this term that they're giving an Amazon Echo through Amazon to every engineering student. The height of consumer technology that you could look at and go, hey, Sparky, when's my next class? Hey, Sparky, and they're going to let them innovate. So why is Microsoft promoting this? Well, I think it's a great example, but 1 week earlier, Microsoft announced that our Cortana connector for Amazon was out. So those students are writing not only to connect to Amazon's consumer services, but blending that consumer service with trusted enterprise connections to Arizona State's data using Cortana. So I'll give you a little example of that. I'm just going to break out for a minute. And let me kill my screenshot here. Okay. So I'm going to change the way my screen is displayed so we can duplicate it. And what you'll see is this was gathering. I'm going to actually save my transcript here. It gathered my whole speech so I can critique myself later, and I'll just hit save. And close this up. So I'm going to say, hey, Cortana, play Justin Bieber. Who doesn't want to play Justin Bieber? So as you can see, it does all the things you'd expect Alexa and others to do. We might even let this play. And oh no, this is like that old Ford ad where yes, I do have Justin Bieber in my collection. It's because my daughter likes him so much. Hey, Cortana, what time does my flight leave tomorrow? What you don't hear is because you're hearing my voice. Cortana talks to me and tells me all these things. I found Justin Bieber, I'm pulling your flight up. So these are fun things, right? Cortana's really smart. In fact, she's kind of creepy smart because what she does is go through and kind of searches the work I do, my inbox, my calendar, and has some things for me like, okay, I know you're in Bogota, I could tell that from your calendar. You sent an email to Alberto yesterday saying you would get back to him. Have you done that yet? Right? And I'm like, how did you know I didn't do that? So here's where he starts to go, there's a few things. What I also love is Cortana is telling me right now that actually I have a few emails. It usually would tell me that I'd cleared my inbox and I have no urgent emails here, which is a great thing, but that rarely happens. And the last thing that we'll do is we can extend that to say, hey, Cortana, show me college expenses for Drake State. Now that's kind of cool. I just went into my back-end reporting system with a simple question and brought it forward. I can always also use human language to change that. And Calhoun, right? And it comes back, college expenses for Drake, or it doesn't. Okay, so we'll go through, but that's pulling from a data set that we have right here, which is able to look at college expenses as well as look at job opportunities. So if any school wants to know what job opportunities are available to their students, not only can they simply just ask Cortana, they can go in and drill down and share this. And these capabilities are enabling new models for students. For the Alabama community colleges now, with their new partner campus management, when a student drops a class, they remind them how far they are to a degree that has the following high-paying jobs or less-paying jobs within 50 miles of their campus. They're changing the mindset of students to say, what we need you to do is understand there's a job available for you, and before you drop, you need to finish this class. So that data is continuing. And what I want to make sure is, as we wrap up, consumer expectations are shaping offerings for students today. We're investing in technologies like you've seen that will allow you to translate at cloud speed into as many languages you want, to as many people as you want. What we haven't worked out is voice recognition in an echo chamber. And I want to recognize Tito and his crew for all the work you did last night to make sure that my voice was being translated as we came through here. And we're adding personalization and intelligence to everything that we do. These personalized experiences are the new remote control. They are what learners expect, and they're what you're going to need to offer. But your offerings and the institution's reputation is your competitive advantage today. And that reputation is going to allow you to produce better performance data than your competition because you have better people in faculty and students. But if you fail to produce that data, if you fail to share it and show learners that they are on the right path and reinforce and eliminate the anxiety that they've been accustomed to having eliminated, you are risking going the way of Tower Records and not Virgin Record Label. And so I have 4 areas that I say I want you to think about when thinking about digital transformation, and all 4 need to be addressed. You must optimize the pathway and the experience. And I joked about pizza, but I don't want a pizza tracker at a very nice restaurant. I'm there for a totally different experience. I want to sit down with my family. I want there to be time between the sections. A deep immersive experience is about community, connections, enhance that. A convenience-based experience where I want good food fast, I like pizza trackers. You can give me that. And that's where data and the signals that you generate, and I want to be super clear, most people think about signals as internal. What is our retention rate? Are we on track? Are we on budget? The most important signals, learning from Domino's, are external. It's what the Fox Roadmap tool has done. How are we informing students of their progress? How are we informing employers of the quality of our students? And how do we communicate back to citizens that we are doing a great job? And all of this requires some change. And change is not easy, and that's why you're leaders. And moving culture and wrapping a well thought out offering to a clear target market and meeting their expectations where they are is how we will succeed. And so I'd just like to say thank you, and together, we'll do the technology part. I'm not the education expert, but I can share with you what I've learned from schools and what they're doing around the world, and the degree to which you use your quality and your academic reputation to engage learners in new ways, whether they be 18 or 78, is what's going to define your success. So thank you, and I appreciate the time.
Pues agradecemos, por supuesto, la participación de nuestro panelista Rob Curtin. Vamos a continuar entonces en desarrollo de la agenda. Por supuesto, un saludo muy especial de agradecimiento a Colsubsidio y a la Corporación de Educación Tecnológica Airbus Group. Vamos a ir ahora entonces con nuestro panel, pero muy a nuestro pesar queremos hacer un anuncio, y es que Pete Pizarro, CEO de la red Ilumno, no nos podrá acompañar, esto debido a los efectos del huracán Irma que tuvo en su vivienda en la Florida. Así que queremos enviarle, por supuesto, desde acá un saludo muy, muy especial. El doctor Pizarro pues no podrá estar con nosotros. ¿Y qué pasaría entonces ahora si nosotros les damos a los alumnos, a nuestros estudiantes, más bien herramientas poderosas para su proceso de aprendizaje y que ellos mismos se puedan hacer cargo de su proceso de formación? Pues este es el debate que tendrán a continuación los siguientes invitados, a quienes por supuesto quiero pedirles, solicitarles que se acerquen y nos acompañen. Este panel estará moderado por Javier Torres, director de Consultoría TI. Y estos son nuestros panelistas: Richard Culata, CEO de la Sociedad Internacional para la Tecnología en la Educación; Rob Curtin, director mundial de Educación Superior de Microsoft; y el padre Harold Castilla, rector general de la Universidad Minuto de Dios. Todos ustedes bienvenidos, adelante, los estamos esperando. Javier, ¿dónde está Javier? Hola, Javier. Te cedo entonces la palabra. Bienvenidos. you.